In today's video, we are going to go over what I think is probably the number one thing that holds most people back in their neurologic recovery, and potentially how your very caring healthcare team could be contributing to the problem. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara, I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to take full ownership of your rehab and your overall health. And all that said, today we're going to talk about a psychological, principle or philosophy called the mere ownership effect. And what the mere ownership effect purports is that people who believe that they own a thing or an idea or a specific value will find that thing more attractive, more valuable, and more beneficial to that person's life. And I can totally see how this is true in my life and how we all probably have examples where this effect plays out in real life. For example, I love my little dog. Many of you know my little dog because you see him in some of my videos. I think he's the cutest. When I see other dogs on the street, they're either too big or too hairy or they're the wrong color, or even dogs that look exactly like my little dog Chico, which again, many of you have seen in the videos. Other dogs, even that have a similar look, they bother me. They're a little bit annoying. But Chico can do no wrong. And I think this is a prime example of the mere ownership effect. Chico belongs to me. He adds a ton of value to my life. And of course, I think he's the best looking dog on the block. I think many people do this when it comes to their children or even their house or their car. We will be slightly biased towards that thing we own versus like going and staying in an Airbnb. That house might feel a little bit different than the house that you actually own. Probably all good examples of the mere ownership effect. Now, what does all of this have to do with you and in your stroke recovery, or really recovery from anything, whether that be an injury or a neurologic event, is the importance of owning your goals, which many of you have heard me talk about quite a bit on this channel. If you choose the goal, most likely you're going to find that goal more attractive because you own it. Now, some of the scientists believe that the reason this mere ownership effect exists is because there's something in human nature where we want to avoid loss. So if we believe we own that goal, we're going to hold on to that goal because we don't want to lose it. We have an aversion to losing something we own. So we put more value on it. We will make it make sense for our life. So extremely valuable. That is why oftentimes I will talk to people about their goals, but I do not tell people what their goals are going to be. But where this is more important and where I think a lot of healthcare professionals get this wrong or maybe miss the mark on this a little bit is when it comes to the process, laying out what steps need to be done in order for you to get to your goal. And in fact, this recently happened to me when I was sharing my coaching program with a doctor, and I really highlighted the fact that you all that are members, you really have the freedom to select the combination of exercises that are going to work best for you given your situation and where you're at in your stage of recovery. And the doctor's response to me was, patients don't want that. They just want you to give them a list of exercises. They're not going to use your program. And as much as I respect this doctor and I respect his opinion, and I do take it to heart and I'm going to give it some thought, there's a piece of me that says I think our healthcare system is missing the mark a little bit if that is our thought process, that people don't want to be able to create their own program, but they really just want someone to give them a list. They don't want to explain. They don't want it explained to them. They just want the how-to. And in fact, I see this a lot on the channel. Many of you get frustrated because I don't give you like a 5-step process. And really that comes from the fact that I have found the value in watching someone being able to pick and choose how they want that plan designed based on where they're at in life. And then, yes, I do help to tweak it a little bit, but for the most part, the more someone is choosing the exercises that they want. They're trying things, they're failing at things, they're reorganizing things based on those failures. That whole process, the thinking that goes along with that, the decision making that goes along with that, is extremely valuable for the next set of goals. When you want to create another plan with different conditions, you feel more empowered to do that thing. At least that's what I've observed with the patients that I've worked with in person. So it does bring me back to this idea of this mere ownership effect. And here's my takeaway from that, is that when you own the process, you can also own the outcome. So what do I mean by that? That if you feel like you had full ownership of how you made decisions to create the plan that led to your goals, and you accomplished those goals, you are also going to own the identity of the person that put that program together, that accomplished that goals, and you are going to carry that identity with you into your next set of goals. And that does go along with this mere ownership philosophy, and back to this idea that we really don't want to lose something that we feel like we own. And we definitely don't want to lose something we feel is a part of our identity. So when you believe you are the type of person that can make good decisions that's going to lead to a specific outcome, you are going to hang on to that identity. You're going to hang on to that belief in yourself and in your ability to be able to take a goal, come up with a plan, and get to an outcome. So when the unpredictable or the unexpected happens, which does happen, not just in neurologic rehabilitation, but when you're recovering from an injury or an illness, having that ability and that confidence in yourself that you are the type of person that can shift and modify and tweak a plan in order to get to a desired outcome is extremely valuable. And I think it all ties back into that mere ownership effect. Now, on the flip side of that, and this is a question I get quite frequently, is this going to work? I don't know if this is going to work. How do you know this is going to work, Tara, when I give someone an exercise? I think those are all signs as well of this mere ownership effect. When you do not own that decision, and that decision is given to you, I do believe it's a little bit less attractive, and you might be a little bit more questioning, or you might doubt it and how that impacts your life, or whether or not that is going to benefit your life, because you do not own that decision. Someone else owns that decision or owns that process, and you are just borrowing it. It might lose a little bit of its sparkle versus the whole beginning of this video where I talked about if you made that decision, there is a high likelihood that you own that decision, and that decision is going to be attractive to you. You are going to make it make sense because you decided on it. Whereas in this counter example, it's less attractive. You're going to doubt it. It might not be as appealing. As well as the fact that when you do hopefully accomplish the goal, because you did not own that process, it might be a little bit more difficult to own that result. Meaning that you're never going to be quite sure, was this something that I accomplished because it was something I owned and it was decisions I made, and therefore I am the type of person that can do this? Or was it because someone else told me what to do and I kind of was able to follow it, and so I borrowed this person's process and I got to this outcome, and maybe or maybe not it had something to do with me? It loses a little bit of its sparkle, but more than that, it's potentially not going to be an identity of someone who can make good decisions and make this thing happen when you take that onto your next challenge, or when you encounter some kind of a setback, or you encounter some kind of a unexpected circumstance and you don't trust yourself to make the right decisions, to modify whatever you're doing to be able to continue on the course to achieving your goal. And a good example of this that I encountered recently is I am trying to learn a new software and I'm not the most tech savvy person. This is Photoshop. Many of you may be very proficient at Photoshop, but I find it extremely confusing. And so I was asking my friend, okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? What does this icon mean? When I was trying to make my first kind of little thumbnail on there. And my friend helped me through the process pretty good. Every time I had a question, I went to him. He gave me the solution. I did it. What happened the next time, the next project I went to work on was a little bit different. The pictures were a little bit different. The aspect ratios were a little bit different. It was for a different type of a project. And I didn't know what to do because I couldn't carry over those skills to this project, or maybe I just didn't have the confidence because I knew someone had been holding my hand and feeding me the answers every step of the way before, or in the earlier example. Now I know I'm going to eventually get it because I quickly learned after coming into the second project and not being able to carry over some of the steps that I learned or that were given to me in the first project. I quickly learned I needed to experiment a little bit, play around with some of the buttons, make a lot of mistakes, use the undo quite a bit, start new documents, delete files that were just not going anywhere, where my mouse kind of just took on a life of its own, close out the program, re-enter the program. But every time I had to do those things and I had to make modifications, I believe I am learning faster, and I am also adopting the identity of someone who is competent in managing or creating something in Photoshop. Now, I know that's kind of a silly example and not really potentially relatable to a lot of you in the circumstances you're in, but I do think it's an example of when you take ownership of something and you allow yourself to fail and you make decisions not really knowing what the outcome's going to be. So having this uncertainty of outcome and you do it anyway, there's a lot of value in that can be carried over into almost every aspect of your recovery. And I do believe it is probably the most valuable missing link in most people's recovery program, that if you optimize your ability to choose exercises, possibly fail at exercises safely, choose a different exercise, modify the exercise, that whole process, you will be 10 steps ahead of most people in your circumstance who are not using the mere ownership effect to their benefit in their neurologic recovery. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Now, this video was inspired by a blog post that I wrote a few weeks ago. Every week, I kind of take the previous week and all of my experiences in treating patients in person and reading the comments online, and I just kind of try and synthesize it all. And what does all this mean? And try and create value out of other people's experiences that might be beneficial for helping you in your recovery. But all of that said, if you are not currently signed up for our newsletter, I highly recommend it. Again, you'll get just one email a week highlighting all of the articles and things that I write about throughout the week. And in most cases, they don't turn into a video. So it is completely different insights that a lot of times, again, I don't turn into videos. So you will hopefully find value in reading that newsletter. To sign up for that newsletter, click in the first link in the description below. But also, if you are someone who buys into this idea that the mere ownership effect is extremely valuable in being able to make decisions, choose your own exercises, possibly fail at some exercises, reorganize your exercise program, I think you would find our coaching program extremely valuable. With a gold membership program, you get access to an entire vault of over 400 exercises that I use with my patients that I see in person, as well as monthly masterminds where we kind of go in, do a deep dive on specific movement problems, as well as how to use the library to create programs that you would create on your own that'll benefit you and where you're at in your stroke recovery and what would add quality to your life. And then also once a month, you will have access as a gold member to our monthly live Q&As, where all members are allowed to ask questions and I answer those live. It's a great community. Again, I think you would find our gold membership program extremely valuable. To learn more about our gold membership program and to sign up, click on the second link in the description below. But that is it for this video. I really enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.